Hello to all you supernatural heroes and shadowy villains. Welcome to another visual guide dedicated to helping fellow players such as yourself. Today we'll take a look at Cursed Themiscrya ELITE, an elite level A player raid introduced to the Justice League Dark Cursed DLC. If you're looking for a guide on the regular event version, then I would suggest using what you learn from this guide, as all versions pretty much share the same mechanics. My name is Starry and I'll be your guiding light. A standard composition of 1 tank, 1 controller, 1 healer, and 5 DPS should be able to complete this raid with no issues. The second boss has a mechanic where you must keep the ads separated from the boss, so teams might opt for a backup tank in order to help the fight go smoothly, but a controller and a tank can handle the mechanic just as well. I personally recommend just going for a backup tank if you're running with the LFG form group though. It's easier in a group sanity. You'll start this raid off fighting hallway ads before reaching the first boss fight, Cursed Wonder Woman and Cersei. Both bosses must be defeated around the same time as each other. There will also be bestiamorphs aiding them in the fight. These ads are not a priority and can be ignored in favor of keeping all damage solely on the bosses. The bestiamorphs will at times mark an area with a red circle before dropping down, dealing AoE damage with Meteor Smash. Cersei's main attack to watch out for will be Chain Lightning. She will place a purple arrow above a player's head before shooting lightning at the target. The targeted player must block for the duration of the attack, or else the lightning will chain to other players. Wonder Woman will attach her lasso to one of the racks in any of the 4 corners of the room before spinning towards it with Whirlwind Lasso. She will deal damage to anything in her path, so just make sure you're out of the way to avoid the damage. Proceeded with an on-screen prompt, Wonder Woman will perform Cursed Pulse. She will stand somewhere in the room and shoot out purple orbs from her feet. Anyone they touch will be KO'd. To avoid the damage, simply jump over the orbs. The final mechanic to watch out for will be Wonder Woman's Deflect. She'll take a blocking stance and return damage back to anyone who attacks her. There will also be an on-screen prompt to warn players of the attack. The reflected damage will result in a KO, so when she does this, all players should immediately stop attacking her. Orbitals and pets are fine to use on her. Tanks should move Cersei away from Wonder Woman during this time so the team can keep damaging her without fear of hitting Wonder Woman. Cersei and Wonder Woman will repeat their mechanics until defeated, pushing teams forward towards the second boss, Ethereal Hecate. Even though this comes later in the fight, it's better if we talk about the Straight Thoughts phase first. When Hecate loses 25% of her health, doors will start to spawn around the edges of the room, allowing angry and passive thought ads to come through. The ads will move towards Hecate at a fairly quick pace. Any ads coming into contact with Hecate will be absorbed, buffing Hecate's damage. So the ads and Hecate must stay separated at all costs. Like I mentioned earlier, I believe the easiest way to deal with this is to have a backup tank who can pull all the ads away from Hecate and keep them locked down. While that's happening, the main tank keeps Hecate away from the doors and the ads. Since the phase won't end until Hecate loses enough health and ads will keep spawning, 2 to 4 DPS should focus their burn on Hecate, while putting at least 1 DPS on ad duty to keep the backup tank from getting overwhelmed. Like I mentioned earlier, instead of a backup tank, teams can use that controller to pull ads away and keep them stunned as well. Controller players looking for a multi-target pull can use the Lasso of Truth artifact, which pulls 3 ads at level 80 and 8 ads at level 160. There are also other AoE pulls like low pressure from the flight and skimming movement trees, munitions multi-net refractor, and hard lights fan. So if you're a controller, you have other options other than using lasso. This phase can be overwhelming, but teams can easily overcome it by working together and communicating who's doing what. Since we're already on the topic of phases, when Hecate reaches 25% health, she will shoot bubbles around the room in a spiral-like pattern. These bubbles move fast and will one-shot any players they hit. To outrun the bubbles, players must change into a ghost by stepping on one of the puddles on the ground. This will give you increased movement speed to help you survive. Once she stops shooting bubbles, all transformed players will return to their normal form and she will summon ads. These ads shoot out their own water bubbles that deal heavy damage. Hecate will also shoot out multiple water bubbles in either a cone or a circle around her that will move out from her. The choice to focus down the ads will depend on the group, but usually they don't pose much of a threat since the bubbles they shoot move at a slower pace than Hecate's, making them easy to avoid. During the beginning of the fight, Hecate will use Swell and Rising Tide. Players will move away from her for Swell and getting close for Rising Tide. She will always do them back to back, so if you go in for Rising Tide, then immediately get back because Swell is coming next, and vice versa. Hecate will drop small AoEs under players which will erupt, dealing damage and knocking affected players up. Simply move out of the red circles to avoid the attack. The last thing to watch out for will be Maelstrom. This attack will place a blue spinning AoE on players which will damage and knock down any teammates who get too close. Stay away from players who have the blue circle around them to avoid the damage and knockback. Once Ethereal Hecate is defeated, it's time for the final boss of the raid, Hecate. Hecate will focus solely on Wonder Woman until Wonder Woman goes down. At that point, Hecate will begin attacking players, and let me tell you, she hits hard. A player must interact with Wonder Woman in order to get Hecate off the team. Hecate will also stay shielded for the entire fight, only receiving damage when an aspect of Hecate is destroyed. The aspects will rotate between Zatanna, Wonder Girl, Swamp Thing, and Deadman. These aspects will fight similar to how they fight in their respective duties. The most important things to note when it comes to the aspects attacks would be tanks should always attempt to interrupt Wonder Girl's electric overload attack, which looks similar to Hand Blaster's pulse beam. Healers and controllers should keep up group shields as much as possible to help mitigate the damage from Wonder Girl's lightning bolt attacks, which targets multiple players. Everyone should avoid standing in Swamp Thing's spore clouds. Everyone should also watch when Zatanna starts teleporting to different players as she leaves behind a damaging magic snare on the ground at the location. And finally, Finally, everyone should avoid standing against Zatanna's magical orbital strikes, which are signaled by small magic circles on the ground under players. The aspects will stay shielded, with the shield only being broken after enough orbs are fed to them. The orbs can be obtained when a player who has turned into a bestiamorph closes a portal. You can turn into a bestiamorph by interacting with Cersei, who's located at the entrance of the room. I suggest letting the DPS players turn into bestiamorphs while the tank, controller, and healer deal with surviving the onslaught of adds that are summoned from the portals. The final thing to watch out for will be Blackout Orb's Moon's Fury, which is a damaging beam that shoots down from the sky and follows a target. Avoid standing in this as it deals heavy damage. These mechanics will repeat until Hecate is defeated. And thanks for watching, everyone. Please let me know if you've enjoyed this guide and leave a thumbs up if it's helped you out. If you're interested in staying up to date with all the latest DCUO guides from me, then subscribe to the channel. See ya.